Japaneasy dress has Japanese influences in its oversized skirt and interesting draping. And the easy part is because it's made from just a couple of pattern pieces, a front and a back, some pockets if you like, and a couple of straps. Start by serging or overlocking all around the edges of your pieces. You can also zigzag. Oftentimes your notches get lost when you're zigzagging or serging edges, so just make sure they're marked very obviously. I prefer an overlocker because of its speed. You can keep feeding pieces through without stopping to cut threads. It's a little trickier to negotiate the curves. Just try steering them through with the fingers, turning the fabric as you go. Next, we're making 2 straps to go on the front only. Fabric is face down, iron under 1 centimetre or 3/8 of an inch on one end, press a middle line, fold the edges to the centre line, and press in half again. We'll stitch around all 4 edges. One end will be finished and one raw. Now we're making folds on the front and back and attaching straps. There are 6 dots. Fold along the centre dots, then line up the other pairs of dots on top of each other. When you pin these together, you'll create a fold which folds towards the centre of the garment on both the front and the back. To hold everything in place, we're going to hand stitch an X shape, which you can do an embroidery thread if you like, and just leave it in there as a decorative element. After that, to really secure it, we'll machine stitch a box shape. Insert the strap with the raw edges underneath the fold. Here I've embroidered the X on. I'm machine stitching the box. When you get to the corners, leave the needle down, raise the presser foot and turn the fabric. The same X boxes appear on the back, but there are no straps attached at the back. To sew on the pockets, I've made them in a contrasting fabric. Line up the notches. Of course, the pockets are face downwards. If they were going up like this, everything would fall out of your pockets. So angle them the right way and match the notches and pin them together with right sides together. Here's the front. When we're sewing on the pockets, this is the only time we use a smaller seam allowance, which is 6mm or 1/4 inch. Everywhere else we're using a 1 centimetre or 3/8 inch seam allowance. Stitch all the way along on all 4 pockets. Make sure you trim your threads very close, nothing worse than loose threads hanging everywhere. To understitch, open out the pocket. We're going to stitch the pocket to the actual seam here. Stitch close to the seam, just on the pocket side. This is a great way to make sure the pocket stays in place with without a lot of ironing. Stitch your shoulder seams, front and back, right sides together, pin in place, stitch at 1 centimetre and 3/8 of an inch, open up the seam and hit it with a nice blast of steam. To make the double hem on the neckline, we're going to fold under twice. An easy way to do this is by ironing at 1/2 inch and then folding the seam under, so that the seam is 2/4 inches. Here I've hand basted with embroidery thread to keep everything in place, as it's a little tricky getting around the curves. You can leave this embroidery thread in place if you like, just as a decorative feature. The double hem around the armhole is made in the same way as the neckline. Fold under 1 centimetre or 3/8 of an inch, then fold under another 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimetre. You can press that or hand baste it. Stitch it close to the fold, and don't forget to backstitch when you begin and end. Stitch the sides going around the pockets. We folded the pockets out and pinned it. Towards the bottom, we're making a buttonhole. Here we are underneath the armhole. Stitch down to the first notch, go all the way around the pocket at 1 centimetre or 3/8 of an inch. No need to be too exact here, as it's all on the inside. Stitch up to the second notch, and the seam allowance here is 1 centimetre. Stitch down to the buttonhole, which is a gap in the side seam. You'll find notches to stop at. The distance between the notches is the width of your button. Stitch up to the notch and backstitch. Cut your threads. Start again with backstitching. And backstitch at the bottom. Press the seam open and you'll see the gap for the button. We're going to stitch a rectangle around this buttonhole. I like to start on one of the long edges, pivot. You can count your stitches across or mark the rectangle with chalk if you like. No need to backstitch, just stitch over the top of the previous stitching to finish it. The bottom hem has a similar double hem. It's easier because it doesn't have any curves, so I'm just going to eyeball this, turning under twice and stitching close to the fold. There's a button attached to the inside at a suggested height of 20 centimetres, but try it on and see where you like the button to be and how short your dress becomes. If you've got great legs, you can sew that button up a lot higher and you get more volume around the bottom of the dress. It was so easy, I made at least 3. I hope you enjoy sewing this.